None of that.
I'm so tired. I'm so glad I don't have to go there tomorrow.
My dog woke me up at 3:30 this morning and I couldn't go back to sleep.
Oh my god.
And then I had to drive an hour and a half down here.
Yeah, it takes me an hour. Because you're in Tucson too, yeah?
Yeah.
Because it takes me an hour and like 7 minutes. But yeah, I'm driving down here every 3 days a week until the 18th. But that's all right. So, and I'm just checking with you, make sure this is okay. Every day, these guys are asking to please not shut down the computer, or shut down the camera during break.
Should I just go to bars?
Yeah, and then, but the mics to shut those down because they can hear it downstairs, and then they come up and talk to us.
Gotcha.
If you don't mind.
That's what I heard the other day.
Oh, and there's a Starbucks, like, literally if you go the back way, like you go this way and down the hill, it's below us.
Okay.
And then there's like Dunkin' Donuts, but and Chipotle. Not too much, but
I mean, I'm in Nogales and I'm not going to go to Chipotle for Mexican food. You know?
I know there's some other really good places, but I bring my lunch every time, so I haven't gone to any of them, but everybody here knows them. I mean, even living in Tucson, going to Chipotle, I wouldn't do it.
I go to Street Taco. It's the exact same food, but
Yeah, those
so
guys.
much better.
Yeah, those guys used to work at Trader Joe's, and then they took their retirement and opened that place.
Kim, good morning. Good morning, Brad.
It's good.
Morning. She's coming right now. Yeah, she's coming. Okay. Good morning, Jim. Thank you. The instructions work.
Corners of Channel 4. They tend to take a good amount of breaks, so we're going to try to do to make it easier for all of us. I have my laptop here at a card reader, so we're trying to run over during the long breaks and drop some of the footage if it's not irritating to you. That's fine. I just figure it makes it easier than at the end trying to drop a whole bunch of. Got it.
Yeah, this one seems pretty new. Or like either new or redone. Yeah. Everyone's really nice too.
One and two's on the side.
I haven't been to that one.
Just look up our coverage of the Christopher Columbus trial, like the first with the old
Yeah.
cameras in, and it's just
hideous. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'll have to look that up.
After you needed to, had an issue with your evidence? After, do you need something about your evidence? My name is here, your evidence here, so. You need something?
I need my folders. She knows I wanted it. Thank you very much. I'm just patiently waiting.
It was, so much better. And then you have like a second to like just sit down.
Breathe.
Yeah. And not scramble. And
So I think it was here before, right? You were here last time.
No, this is my first time here. Me and Craig talked to you. and
Oh,
we
that's
found-
right.
We found out that he was moving out
Okay.
Friday.
I see.
And then I got moved.
Okay. So just a reminder, I have to remind everyone every single day to remember not to record, of course, the jurors. And you can only record when the judge is on the bench. When he's off the bench, you need to turn off the audio and the video because in other instances, the camera kept rolling and they were live streaming. And that's not good, and we get in trouble.
Is it okay if I just switch to bars? Turn off my mic?
And the video as well.
Right, if I switch my camera to bars.
Okay, I don't know how it works, but you make sure you don't live stream it.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
yeah, it'll be good because
Okay.
if we shut down the camera,
Yeah.
then we have to reboot every time. But
Okay.
if he goes to bars, we can't see anything. It's
And
just
hear
bars.
anything. Okay.
And then he'll shut down the mics. Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. That works.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then I don't know. Did you talk to Lucy? Because I'm not gonna be here tomorrow, but a different camera guy.
Yes,
is, and
he sent me
needs
an email.
this.
Okay, that's fine.
But then that means it'll be here for the weekends.
The person that's gonna be tomorrow here, right?
Yeah, but then I come Tuesday, and there's no way for me to get it because I'm an hour away.
Okay, let me see if I can get permission. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna ask
see
the
what
judge
Lucy-
overnight
see
because.
what Lucy-
Okay.
Hopefully he'll let me. He was really nice to me the other day.
Yeah, he
like,
was. It's not
apologizing.
up to us in administration or the judge. It's mostly our security team. That goes with it. But I'll try to. I try to get
So heavy.
a green light on that. Yes. I'll push a little.
I'll beg.
It's usually goes till about 4.
Well, yesterday was 4:30. I mean, it would take me an hour.
Get a
to
chance
have
to check the
lunch,
emails.
And it just depends on who's up there. It could, could get out early, but it hasn't thus far. But sitting this long is hard. Sitting this long is hard. I would sit out there, but then I have to make here when we're breaking and all the other things, so.
Well, she presents from prosecution as well. But I don't get it. We could.
Hold on
it's under
one second,
record.
Jose.
So
Hold on one
for
second, please.
prosecution, is that what you're going to start off with? Yes. That's your prosecution business? Yes.
Right?
And I can't plug in over there. Perfect. Okay.
Do you see it now?
Yep.
We're good? Okay, Jose.
So, you want to keep that up or not yet? Not yet. I can whack the screen so you don't have to touch it and I'll make the screen black. Don't worry. You just get it as it is. All right.
Rise, por favor.
Okay, Claudia. Did you see my agent? You did.
Rise, por favor.
Records show the presence of all the jurors, counsel, and the defendant. For on the record, the state can call its next witness.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Agent Heredia.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in the matter before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
I do. Sir. Yes, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. Would you please tell the jury your full name and your occupation?
Correct. My name is Roberto, middle initial E, last name of Heredia, with an H. I'm a Border Patrol agent working for the Nogales Border Patrol Station.
Sir, could you spell your last name for the court reporter?
It'll be H-E-R-E-D as in dog, I-A.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Could you tell the jury just a little bit about yourself?
I've been with Border Patrol for approximately going on 15 years here in July. I've been stationed in the Nogales Station my whole career. I am a local, raised here in Nogales, Arizona, currently living in Rio Rico.
And what sort of assignments have you had over that 15-year period that you've been here at the Nogales Border Patrol Station?
I've had numerous assignments ranging from undercover work to detention work and part of a mountain team for approximately 5-6 years.
And in January of 2023, what was your assignment?
I was assigned to the east side of Nogales, Arizona as part of that mountain team.
Did that include the Keno Springs area?
Yes, it did.
I want to clear up a question one of the jurors had earlier with another witness before we get started on the events of January 30th. Could you tell us the difference between a checkpoint and a port?
Yes, the port of entry is the main entry into the United States. That is usually manned by CBP officers, custom officials. A checkpoint is further in the interior of the United States, primarily checking for immigration status, and is primarily manned by Border Patrol agents.
So checkpoints are you all green shirts?
Correct.
Border Patrol?
Correct.
And then ports of entry are blue shirts?
Blue shirts, that is correct.
And the ports of entry, those are right on the border?
Right on the border, correct.
And then you all are responsible, if I understand correctly, for the checkpoints and everything in between the ports of entry?
That is correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now I'd like to talk about January 30th of 2023. We heard another Border Patrol agent talk about his experience. Did you go to an academy as well?
I did go to an academy. The academy was in Artesia, New Mexico. academy was approximately 4 months for me because I know how to speak Spanish, so I didn't have to stay for the Spanish part.
And you had the same field training as other officers, is that right?
That is correct.
And the probationary period?
That is correct, except the exception mine, at the time I came in, my probation was 2 years instead of the regular one.
Now I want to talk about January 30th of 2023. Were you on duty on that day?
Correct, I was on duty.
And were you called to 100 Willow Cross Circle in Keno Springs?
Yes, I do not, to be honest with you, I do not know the exact address, but it was a Vermillion ranch.
Vermillion Mountain Ranch?
Correct.
Do you know the homeowner's name there?
I knew after the incident, but Mr. George Allen Kelly.
And that location is in Santa Cruz County?
That is correct.
Can you tell me on January 30th of 2023, before you got this call, what were you doing and where were you located?
I was located somewhere along Highway 82, I think around the area of the Circle K. Just prepping for that day. I was prepping to patrol the east side, Duquesne Road, all that area.
And the Circle K you're referring to, is that the one in Nogales?
The one in Nogales, Arizona by Highway 82.
Okay. And so is that the road that leads out to where Keno Springs is located?
That is correct. Further north should be that road that takes you to Keno Springs.
And so that would be northeast of where you were in Nogales, is that right?
Correct.
So what time were you dispatched to this call?
The call came in at approximately 2:40 p.m.
And when you received the call, what information did you have?
The information that came out through the radio was something to the effect that the owner of the Vermillion Ranch had reported that there were people shooting at him in his property.
And did you respond to the location after you received that dispatch call?
Yes, I did.
And were you in a vehicle by yourself or did you have a partner in your vehicle?
I was in a vehicle by myself.
Do you know how long it took you to get there?
It must have been approximately 15 minutes.
And when you arrived at the location, can you tell me, you said you were dispatched at 2:40, but I'm a little confused about that. Were you dispatched prior to that and arrived at 2:40, or did you get dispatched at 2:40?
I believe I got dispatched approximately 2:40.
And would your report refresh your recollection on that issue?
It would.
I can have just a second while I find your report.
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you move on while your co-counsel tries to find?
Will do, Judge, thank you. I'm pretty sure I had pulled it, so I'm not sure which one. So, after you got there, were you the first to arrive? Was there anyone else there?
I was the first one to arrive at the scene.
And when you got there, what did you discover when you approached the property?
I got off my vehicle. The front gate of the property was shut or locked. So I remember jumping the front gate and making my way towards the front of the ranch house.
And when you made your way over to the front door or to the front of the ranch house, what did you observe when you got there?
When I got there, I observed a lady that was at the door of the ranch house, at the front door of the ranch house. I wasn't quite at the front door, I never made it that way. But I talked to the lady, I wanted to make sure she was okay. The lady stated that she was okay. Lady stated that approximately.
Object to hearsay.
Your Honor, I'm not offering this for the proof of the matter asserted, but for what this officer did next and why he went the direction he did.
The objection's overruled. So I think this is the first time I'm giving you something that we call in the law a limiting instruction. Okay, and that means I'm giving an instruction about what the evidence is being admitted for that the witness is going to testify to. So the question was, what did the lady, who we all assume is Mrs. Kelly, say to him? And that is hearsay because Mrs. Kelly is not here in court testifying to it. But it's not offered, here's the instruction. This is not offered for the truth of the matter asserted. So it's not offered, you should not consider it, you should not consider what you were about to hear that Mrs. Kelly said as being proof of the truth about what she's saying. Okay? It's only being offered to explain what this officer did next. All right? So just theoretically, hypothetically, putting this situation aside, hearsay can be admitted. Let's say some other case, some person yells, there's a fire, there's a fire, there's a fire, it's burning over there. It might not be true at all. But it explains why the firemen ran, or the police ran to that location, went to that location. Could turn out to be true, could turn out not to be true. It's not offered to prove that there was a fire or that fire is actually existing. It's offered to prove what this witness did next to explain his subsequent actions. So for those reasons, with a limiting instruction, the objection is overruled. That's, I went a little far on that than I usually do. That's to explain what a limiting instruction is.
Thank you. Agent Heredia, you said there was a woman, a lady at the home, is that right?
That is correct.
Did you at any point discover the identity of that lady?
No, I didn't know her name, I didn't know who she was.
No problem. And so you spoke with her. Could you describe her? Do you recall anything about her description?
The clothing, I cannot recollect the clothing. I know she had white hair, elderly looking lady.
Okay, thank you. And so you spoke with this lady, and what was it that she said to you at that point?
Again, I asked if she was okay. She stated she was okay. She stated that 15 minutes prior to my arrival, her husband and her, I seen approximately 5 individuals or 5 subjects near the south end of the property that were carrying long arms and bundles of narcotics.
And what did she tell you next?
She said that her husband had taken off after them, and she pointed in this gesture, pointing south. She said that her husband had taken off walking south towards the subjects, I assumed.
Now you described the area where you hopped the fence, and I'm going to show you a map. This is actually a lot. See, marking back. And Your Honor, if it's all right with the court, I'm just going to show the electronic version. Agent Heredia, do you recognize this general map?
Yes, I do.
And what does that appear to be?
That appears to be George Allen Kelly's residence, the ranch.
And Your Honor, the state moves for admission of State's Exhibit 114.
No objections, Your Honor.
114 is admitted.
May I publish, Your Honor? And just for the jury's information, this is actually 114, the slide says 115, just so as not to cause any confusion. And can you tell me, sir, is this the area, can you tell the jury how you approached the residence when you first got there that day?
Okay, I parked at the front gate. Is there a way I can show them here on screen or no?
Yes, if you touch on the upper left, there should be a little stylus. It'll give you them colored. There you go. And then you can just touch the screen with the stylus.
That is the front gate that I was referring to. I parked my vehicle right next to that front gate. I got off the vehicle with my service-issued rifle, my M4 rifle, and I hopped the fence, made my way down this road. Sorry. This is the stance.
Cleared for essence colors. So you like write something and
Okay.
color or clear it if you do, change the colors. So, up here from here, what color you want, the next thing to be.
All right, sounds good.
And Agent Heredia,
Here's the
before you try to draw on that, sir, I'm gonna make it a little larger.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Is that helpful?
That is.
Are you able to see the gates on the zoomed in zoomed in
I am.
photograph? Okay,
am.
could you show us then where the gates are?
It should be right around this area.
And that's the area where you parked your car and hopped the gate?
That is correct.
And then where did you approach the house?
I jumped the fence here, walked towards the house this way. I remember at that time, there was a truck parked here. And I make my way here, and I think Mrs. Kelly was right there at her front door.
Okay, and that's where she was when you spoke with her?
That is correct.
What's the next thing you did after you spoke with Mrs. Kelly and she told you that her husband had gone south after the subjects?
Okay, I told Mrs. Kelly to shelter in place. My concern at that time was armed individuals, and I was by myself. So I went back to my truck to wait for backup. And that's what I did, hopped the fence and then waited for backup at my truck.
Okay, and were you aware that backup was on the way?
Yes, I was aware.
And how did you know that?
Because my agent, my partner, Agent Paul Duggan, who was riding a separate vehicle, also acknowledged the traffic.
Did you hear anything at that point?
Once my partner arrived, I could hear sirens in the background, and it turned out to be Santa Cruz County Sheriff officers.
So were they very far behind?
They were several seconds behind my partner.
And then after you heard the officers, after the other officers arrived, what did you all do?
So we had once I made contact with the Santa Cruz County officers, I told them the information that Mrs. Kelly had given me. And again, our priority was armed individuals. So we made our way back to the house, to the ranch house. So I met with officers there. We made our way back. And then we did like a hasty perimeter check.
And what do you mean by a hasty perimeter check?
Hasty perimeter check, we just checked around this area, make sure that everything was okay, there was no armed individuals in the area.
And what was the purpose of doing that?
Again, we're looking for, first of all, the well-being of Mr. Kelly, and make sure that there was no immediate threat to the residents of the house and to us.
And after you did that perimeter check, what did y'all do at that point?
After the quick hasty perimeter check, I don't know the direction where everybody went, but we fanned out. So I just saw like sheriffs going this way, sheriffs going this way. My partner, Paul Duggan, and I believe we went this way. I don't believe we went that way. We went south. In the direction where Miss Kelly had pointed that her husband had taken off to.
And I'd like to show that's another exhibit. So if we could take this. So I just want to make sure, you said you headed off in the southerly direction, and if I'm clear, that's because of what Mrs. Kelly told you about where Mr. Kelly went, is that correct?
That is correct.
And so I'm going to show you another exhibit. Could you take a look at State's Exhibit 115 on your screen, please?
Yes, ma'am.
And does that appear to be a larger map of the Kelly property?
It is.
Your Honor, move for admission of State's Exhibit 115.
Your Honor, I have no objection. Of course, this exhibit says 114. It would be good if they would cross that off and mark it as 115. It's getting confusing when the numbers aren't the numbers that they're supposed to be.
Exhibit 115 is admitted next break.
Hey, Your Honor, it's not the exhibits that are the issue. The exhibits are properly marked. It's just the slides. And could we publish, please, with the court's permission? And sir, you said you headed out from the house and that you headed south.
Correct.
Do you see a dirt road on this map?
Yes, I do.
Did you follow that dirt road or did you go a different direction?
No, I didn't follow the road. I'll use the term bushwhacking. We just went through the brush across that dirt road.
And could you show the jury what direction generally you and your partner traveled?
Yes. So from the house, that is more or less the direction we traveled. We didn't cross the road. I overreached there, but we didn't. We stayed on the road. That's when we saw Mr. Kelly walking towards us. So when we got to this point, okay, I want to clear it now. Mr. Kelly was walking this way towards us with his two dogs.
Okay, we'll get to that in just a second. I
Yes.
want to talk about your trip. And I just want to make sure, you said earlier that your partner Dugan was with you, is that right?
That is correct.
So the two of you were traveling together on this path through the property.
Correct.
And when you traveled through that property, I see that the line you drew looks like you went through a wash. Did you go through a wash or an arroyo?
Yes, we went through a arroyo. Yes.
And when you traveled through that area, did you make any observations of any kind at that point?
No.
Did you see any people or any sign of foot traffic?
No, I didn't see any people. I didn't see any.
Were you looking for foot traffic at that point?
I was just looking for, armed individuals for the safety, but no, I wasn't looking for any particular groups or anything like that.
Okay, so but you didn't see anyone as you were traveling through there?
No, I did not see anyone.
And when you approached the road and you saw Mr. Kelly coming, which direction was Mr. Kelly coming? And was he on the road? Was he on the trail or off the road, or where was he?
He was on the road and he was walking that direction, but on the road.
And you said he had his two dogs with him?
He had his two dogs with him, very friendly, came up to greet us. They licked our hands. They're just very playful dogs.
And what did you observe about Mr. Kelly as you saw him walking down the road?
When he was walking towards us, he had a rifle cradled on his left arm, kind of like the way hunters cradle their rifles. That's the way he had his rifle.
And I see you making a gesture, but could you show the jury what you mean by that?
Yes. So the rifle he was cradling, he had his arm like this, and the rifle was cradled across his chest.
So across his chest diagonally and over his right shoulder?
Yes, yes,
And holding it with his left arm?
yes.
Thank you. And when you observed him, after you greeted the dogs, what's the next thing you did?
And Mr. Kelly, I advised Mr. Kelly, I asked him if he was okay. Mr. Kelly said he was okay. And then he stated that I told him that we responded to the area because the call came in that there were people shooting at him in his property. He stated that he had seen around 5 to 7 individuals carrying bundles of narcotics around the ranch house.
Could you pause for a second? Does that accurately reflect the statement you just made?
Yes,
And he told you they were carrying narcotics.
yes, they were carrying bundles of narcotics, yes.
Did he say anything about seeing any firearms?
No.
And what's the next thing he told you?
He stated that he knew the difference between regular illegal aliens and mules because he had been living in the area for a long time.
And what did he tell you his observations were about these people?
After we kept on walking on the road, and after that, he stated that he had heard a gunshot.
Let me stop you a second. I want to go back to his statements about knowing the difference between whether someone's an immigrant or what was the other phrase he used?
A mule.
Okay,
Mule.
a mule. And when he indicated that he knew the difference between the two, did he tell you what was the difference in his mind?
Well, the mules carry big bundles of marijuana on their backs, big bundles of narcotics. On
That's what he told you?
He said bundles of narcotics.
Okay. And so did he tell you how he knew and which he believed they were?
He believed they were mules because of the big bundles, and he had been living in that area for a long time, and he could tell the difference between a regular illegal immigrant and a mule.
And at that point, did he reference large backpacks as well?
Yes.
So does that statement on your screen now accurately reflect what Mr. Kelly told you?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And what did he say happened next?
He said that he had heard a gunshot. He had heard
Did he tell you when? Was that before or after he saw these individuals?
After he saw him. After he saw him, he heard a gunshot, and that he did not know where the gunshot came from or who had shot. But he did emphasize that he saw the mules running back south towards the international boundary fence as if they were scared.
And the statement I have on your screen, does that accurately reflect what Mr. Kelly told you?
Yes,
And you said additionally that he didn't know where the shot came from
correct,
or who shot,
correct,
and that they appeared scared?
correct.
And does that accurately reflect what Mr. Kelly told you?
Yes, it does.
Did he tell you anything else at that time?
No,
Did he ever say that he was shot at?
no, he never stated that.
He just said he heard a shot.
Correct.
Did he ever tell you at any point that he saw any weapons?
No, he did not say.
Did he ever mention anyone pointing a weapon at him?
No, he never said that.
Did he ever tell you that he was afraid?
No.
Object leading.
No, he never stated that he was afraid. He didn't look like he was afraid. He was calm. He didn't look nervous to me.
So his demeanor at that point was very calm?
Yes, very respectful, very, very calm.
The weapon he was carrying, did he ever tell you that he discharged that weapon?
No, he never stated that.
That's all I have for this witness. Thank you, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Your Honor, I did have to go back to have him take a look at the time. I forgot to ask him that question. Could I do that? I figured out it's Exhibit 53.
Show me what's been marked as exhibit 53, and I'm gonna flip to the page that's your report.
Have you refreshed your recollection?
Yes,
So was it the time you were dispatched 2:40 or the time you arrived 2:40?
it was the time I was dispatched, the time that the radio call came through.
Okay, thank you for clearing that up.
Yes.
That's all I had, Your Honor, thank you.
Would you like this copy?
You guys have problems putting back up, your 114? Okay. Do you mind putting up 114? Yeah, I might have to flip to the other one. May I proceed, Your Honor? Good morning.
Good morning.
So you are the first law enforcement representative to arrive at this, I'm going to call it for short, the Vermillion Ranch, correct?
Yes.
And had you ever been there before?
Not at the ranch house itself, but I've worked that area before.
Okay. So knowing the area, how far is that excuse me, got the hiccups. How far is that location to the border wall? If you were to go as a crow flies, what would you say it was?
About a mile.
A mile? And there's no direct road to it, right? I mean, it's kind of a roundabout way to get there if you were in a vehicle, correct?
To get to the border?
Yes.
That is correct.
Okay. So roads aren't like a crow fly, but there's terrain in between Mr. Kelly's house and the first point of the border wall, correct?
Correct.
Now, in this terrain, and it's hard to tell visually when you're not looking perpendicular to the ground, but from the aerial view, we have State's Exhibit 114 still up on the overhead. Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Now, this area is encompassed with other ranches around it also, correct?
Correct.
So it's not an easy place to just stumble upon, is it?
No, it's not.
Now, you said you worked this area for quite a bit, is that right?
That is correct.
And you actually expressed your knowledge about this terrain, not only possibly a little bit in your report, but also to Detective Einza, didn't you?
Correct.
So let's talk about this area as it relates to what Mr. Kelly believed is his knowledge as far as it's concerning mules and trafficking. What do you know about it and the dangers of this area?
Objection, improper request for opinion testimony from a lay witness.
Go ahead, sir.
It is what I'm giving you is my personal opinion about the area.
And your knowledge from experience, sir.
It's a dangerous area that we work.
Okay. elaborate why you believe it's dangerous from your observations and your experiences.
For us, it's a,
Excuse me, can I just show an ongoing objection? Thank you, sir.
Go ahead, sir.
for us, it's dangerous because it seems that out there in that desert, everything's out to get you, from the vegetation to the heat, potential, bad individuals. That's what we consider a dangerous area.
So bad individuals, it's not a normal place for someone to go rob a bank, is it?
No,
Okay, so we got a different type of bad individuals. What's the activity that you would classify some examples that would fall under people that are these bad folks that you're describing?
we could potentially run into armed individuals, that are up to no good in that area.
So when someone's armed out there, it wouldn't surprise you if this family saw armed individuals, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And what known activities or reasons do you believe, with your experience, would be going on if a person's sitting there armed, especially with long arms?
If there's an armed individual out there, either it could be a hunter or it could be a bad person, usually guarding the narcotic loads coming through the area.
Okay. So the fact that Mr. Kelly has lived out there for quite some time, that's what you learned, right?
Correct.
He was acknowledging with you that he was aware of the potential terrain and potential dangers of his property, right?
Well, he stated that he knew what the subjects that he had seen, he knew that they were mules because he could tell the difference.
And so over the years, there's been migrants, people, just trying to get over the border for the American dream, but there's been illegal activity in this area, and he felt his experience, did you interpret it this, that he felt that he knew the difference. This wasn't just people trying to run over the border.
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation.
The question was how this witness interpreted what Mr. Kelly was telling him, so the objection's overruled.
Go ahead, sir.
Yes, my interpretation, from what he said, he stated that he had seen mules, not illegal aliens.
And the fact that he's been there long enough and acknowledged that, you had no reason to disbelieve that he believed that to be happening, correct?
Correct.
Okay, because it was reasonable, correct?
It was
Objection, Your Honor,
correct.
again, calls for speculation.
It's what he feels, sir.
Hold on. What was the objection? I'm sorry.
Speculation.
What was the question?
I asked if he believed it was reasonable. Asked for this witness' belief.
Objection's overruled.
I
Okay,
believe it was reasonable.
thank you, sir. Now, you knew you were there because shots were fired, right?
That's what the call came through, that shots were fired in the area.
So therefore, there had to be guns if that statement was true, correct?
Correct.
And the fact that you first interchanged with Mrs. Kelly, or the gray-headed senior woman, confirmed independently, now that you're looking hindsight, confirmed that that call was potentially a legit call, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And she was a nice lady, wasn't she?
She was.
And you had no reason to believe that she was lying to you?
I did not.
Did you learn that she was only in the house?
I only saw her in the house. I didn't know who else was in the house.
So I didn't ask that, but did you learn that that's all she never came outside? That the whole time she's been in the house, did you learn that?
No, my
Okay.
first initial encounter was her at the door. of the
Okay.
Front house.
But she greeted you at the door as you walked up. Did you knock, or was she peeking out the glass door?
No, she was already out when I got there, and I never made it to the front entrance. I never made it quite to the door of the house.
Okay. Now, they do have glass doors. Are you aware of that?
No,
Okay. And they have a lot of glass windows. Are you aware of that?
not aware of it.
It's just what you know,
believe you.
sir. Just what you know. I'm just checking to see what you know.
Not aware.
Okay. Now, so she didn't make it clear where she saw these people running, correct?
She just stayed at the south end of her property.
Okay. So you don't know whether with that comment, you don't know if she observed it from within her house or outside the house, right?
I have no idea to
Okay.
that. Yes.
Now, when things were over, the extreme situation was over, You made a note that, Alan Kelly followed or ran after, what was the words that you used?
She stated that she pointed south, a gesture like I'm doing, stating that Mr. Allen had taken after the direction of the subjects walking.
Okay. Now, so he was walking, and you don't know if Mrs. Kelly, or the person that was in the home, and Mr. Kelly, which you later met, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You don't even know if they had any communications since this event took place.
No, I did not know that.
Okay. So if her version of it could be from what she observed, correct?
Correct.
That she knew he was walking in the direction south
Correct.
with the two dogs.
She never stated anything about dogs.
Okay, you saw the dogs.
When I met with Mr. Kelly, yes, when I saw him first.
And those dogs followed him everywhere, didn't they?
Yes, they were following him.
But they're very curious dogs, aren't they?
They are friendly.
And they are, they are almost true to their breed, but always looking around, smelling out everything, curious about the terrain as you all are walking, correct?
Yes, they were kind of like running circles around him, playfully.
But they were interested also in the terrain. Did you notice? Almost like a hunting technique. They're smelling and observing everything on the ground and anything around them.
I did not notice that.
Okay. But inquisitive. They were curious about you.
Yes, they were.
And they approached you to see who you were.
They did.
Okay. And you didn't call them.
No, I did not call them.
And how many dogs were there?
2 dogs.
Okay. Now, looking at this exhibit that's posted on there, redraw the line that you took once you left the house to go start to search around.
Once I left the initial house after we did the hasty perimeter check, is that what you mean?
You got back up. Went back to the house. So let's start with that perimeter check. And that's for your safety and the homeowner's safety, correct?
Correct.
All right. So put that circle around the house as you did before. Okay, now, would it be that wide of a, or closer to the home?
I think that would be reasonable.
Okay, did you were aware of the barbed wire fencing that exists in the back of the house?
I believe I did see the barbed wire fence, but I'm not entirely aware of where it is because I've never been to that ranch house.
Okay.
I worked around the area of the ranch
And
house.
you didn't personally work the field that is behind the house that everyone else searched, correct?
No, Agent Paul Duggan and I, we kind of stayed around this area. We never went here or
Okay.
this area.
You drew some lines before, I'd like you to put them back on, of the search outward while you guys went the other way and ultimately met Mr. Kelly.
So as we were walking down towards Mr. Kelly, from my observations,
Why don't you use a different color on that one?
I will, let me,
You can hit undo.
One of the jurors has asked for the large picture a little bit.
I have no objection.
All right.
Does that help?
Can you move it at all? Can you move it to the, I think that's where everything happened. I'll let you listen to something.
This way, Judge?
Let's undo your markings.
will do.
Is that? Good.
All right, so let's start with the perimeter. We've cleared the board. Since we blew it up, it changes your markings. Now, ultimately, while this is blowing up, are you able to show where your car was parked at this point?
Yes,
Okay. Now, if you notice, there's also colors that you could change, okay?
if you bring that house a little bit south, because the gate is way up top, I think that's better.
Okay, just show that.
Okay, I'm gonna show it in one color and then I'll switch colors.
All right,
That's where my vehicle was parked.
okay. The direction you took that ultimately you found Mr. Kelly would be the opposite way of the vehicle or the same direction?
Opposite way of the vehicle,
And
south.
if I could ask the state now to move the screen to just where that dot is at the top, so we can go downward. And we're still.
I'm gonna clear the dot again.
Okay, all right. That's right there. Go ahead and put your dot on there. Thank you. All right. Now, you went down, you greeted Miss Kelly, you went back, you got some backup, and then you came back into the property, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Now, you had some lines, well, first of all, the perimeter search of the house. Let's go ahead and draw that. You could use, let's just use one other color for the searches.
Switch colors for the searches. So that's a kind of hasty perimeter check, approximate.
Okay. Now, earlier, when the state was asking you questions, you started to show which way you went, and we could keep that, and you were part of this circle, right? I mean, you were searching the perimeter too.
I never made it to the eastern side of the house. I kind of like stayed on this southwestern part of the house. I never went with the sheriffs all the way around.
Okay?
Just help this side of the house there.
All right, let's take the direction that you think you were heading to get to the barn. We're gonna look at the barn later, but set us off into a direction.
If I'm not mistaken, it was kind of like in this direction. That we bushwhacked.
Okay, and you described what bushwhack was. You're not following the roads, you're crossing the terrain.
That is correct.
Okay. Now, while you're heading that way, show me those lines that you had that showed other officers checking out in another direction in the field.
Okay. And just to know, these are approximate.
We get that.
Yes. Okay. That's approximately the way I saw
Okay.
the officers branching out.
And you're not reflecting these lines as the number of officers, right?
That is correct.
Do you even know how many we're searching?
Approximately, from what I can remember, approximately 7, I would like to say.
All right, so there were quite a bit
I
of
may be mistaken,
officers.
yes.
Okay, so why don't you, just in between each of the lines, with the same magenta color, whatever that is, just put some dots in between to reflect other people being there. Other officers.